Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to create icons for badges or emblems. It can be used for buttons and any sort of medal or ribbon. So what you guys are going to end up creating are buttons and badges for King William. So I'm going to show you some of these effects that you can do to create something similar to this. So go ahead and get a new blank document in Illustrator. It can be 8.5 by 11, vertical or horizontal, it does not matter, whatever makes sense to you. Once you get that opened up, you're going to start just by making one circle. So hold shift and drag out for one circle. It can be, close to the size of your artboard. It doesn't have to be super tiny. And then go ahead and give that a fill color. So pick whatever color it is that you would like for it to be. And then you want it to have no stroke. So once you get that circle set up, go ahead and go up to Effect in the top menu bar. And in that menu, you want to find Distort and Transform. And then all of these will do different effects to the edge of your circle, and we want to go all the way down to the bottom and select Zigzag. If you check Preview, you'll notice that all of a sudden it starts affecting your edge. So you want to make sure that it's set to absolute, and then you can change its size, and it will change that depth of corner that you have, and then you can also change the number of ridges, so how many you want. If you, down here, switch it from corner to smooth, it'll give it that kind of curved edge rather than a perfect zigzag. So go ahead and select whatever it is settings-wise that you want for size and number of ridges and corner or smooth, and then click OK and click off of that shape so there's no more bounding box. From there, you're going to make another circle. So I'm going to find my center point. Remember, with that Smart Guides on, you can find center, and then hold Shift and Alt on my keyboard, and I'm going to click and drag out from the middle. And notice when I'm doing that, it's dragging perfectly in a circle. That's why I'm holding Shift and Alt at the same time. And you want to set that circle so it's just a little bit inside from your ridges. And you want to give it no fill, and then you're going to want to give it a black stroke. From there, you're going to get your stroke panel. So over on the side somewhere, you might see your stroke panel. If you don't, go up to Window and then select Stroke, and it's going to pop up this box. We're going to change a few things in here. The first thing we're going to change is our weight. From there, you want to click on cap. We want to give it a rounded cap to the end, so that'll make it perfect dots. And then you want to click on dashed line. So if yours doesn't automatically come up with these sorts of settings, you can adjust it. So maybe I want it to have, a longer dash to it. So instead of being dots, you can give it almost like a sewn dash line. So you can adjust that dash, how long you want it to be. I'm going to keep mine at 0, so it creates a dot. And then that gap is how much space is in between each one. So if I keep raising my weight here, it just makes my dots bigger. If I want the dots themselves to be bigger or further apart, I need to adjust my gap number here. So if I change that to 8 point, you see how it makes them closer together on that line. If I switch it to 30 point, then it's going to make them really far apart. So set your numbers to whatever it is that you want. I'm going to put mine back to 0 and 15. I like how those numbers look together. And then get my black arrow and click off of that. I'm going to draw another circle now. So I'm going to get my ellipse tool again and go to the center and hold Shift and Alt and drag out from there. If you haven't changed any of your settings back yet, it's going to automatically give you another dotted line. And what we're going to do is just come back over here and uncheck that dashed. And we're actually going to give this a no stroke and a white fill. So go into that color picker and fill it with white so it has no stroke around it and just a white circle by itself. Now you can keep using your circle tool to draw circles out from the middle, or you can copy and paste this circle that you have and just resize it. So to copy and paste something exactly in place where it is, Command C will copy it. And then instead of doing Command V to paste, if I Command V, it's just going to paste it off somewhere. Instead of doing that, I'm going to do Command F. And that F is going to paste it in front. So if I go to the corner and hold Shift and Alt now and drag in, and then get my eyedropper tool and click on that purple color, it's going to fill it with that purple. So now I have a double circle. I'm going to do that one more time to create one more inner circle. So Command C as in cat, and then Command F as in front, and go to the corner and hold Shift and Alt, resize, get my eyedropper tool, and then pick up that white. So now I have a bunch of rings of color going on there. Once you get yours looking like this, go ahead and select all of it with your black arrow and then Command G to group it together. And we're just going to move that up out of the way for now so we can work on our banner that's going to go across the middle. So when you create banners, you can do them a bunch of different ways. You can do them that have a bend like this. You can do them where they're on an edge. So aesthetically, you just have to pick which one you're going to want it to create. I'm going to show you how to do this one right here, and then you can kind of translate that for each little part. So to create that one, you're going to use your rectangle tool, and then click and drag out just so you're making a horizontal rectangle. And then go ahead and give that rectangle some sort of fill. Think about what color will go nicely with the ones that you've already created. So I'm going to actually go and pick more of a grayish color. Go ahead and click off. Get your rectangle tool again, and you're going to make a perfect square on the edge of that rectangle that lines up exactly perfectly with it. So it lines up on top and on bottom. And then I'm going to make another copy. So I'm holding Alt and clicking and dragging across. So I'm going to give all of these guys a black stroke just so you can see. Oops, that was white. A black stroke just so you can see. Those look like they're a little off. But that's okay. And then the one more copy of this square. I'm going to hold Alt and click and drag one more time. And then I'm going to rotate it so it's like a diamond. And line that back up on my corners. And I'm going to end up using my Pathfinder tool to divide these apart. So I want to pull this, make sure this is in the front of everything. So you can right click, arrange, and bring to front. So I can select both of these shapes with my black arrow, and then in my Pathfinder tool, move my stroke tool out of the way. In my Pathfinder tool here, I'm going to click on the second button on the top row to do minus front, and it will cut that shape out. So now I have that little ribbon edge on the other side. Another tool that you can use to cut out this part is called your shaper tool. It is right underneath your rectangle tool or shape tools in your toolbar. And your shaper tool is really cool. When it's selected, if I have both things selected, I can use that shaper tool and just kind of scribble, and it will automatically cut those pieces away for me. And they still exist. I can click on this down arrow and go back in and adjust this shape however it may be that I need to adjust it. And it's still there if I need to instead of cutting it away completely. So either way is fine for you to create it. I'm going to take these and shift them just so they're a little bit above and below. And then I'm going to click on that rectangle and bring it to the front of everything. So right click, arrange, bring to front, or you can do those keyboard codes, shift, command, right bracket, and put this rectangle in front. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift and click on both ends of my ribbon right here. And I'm going to go to my fill color and then into my color panel over here. If you don't see your color panel, remember, just go to Window and then Color. And I'm just going to lower this K down some to make it a little bit darker so that those parts of the ribbons look like they're behind my rectangle. You can keep a stroke on it if you want or remove it. That's kind of up to you. I like mine better without a stroke. I'm going to group all of this guys together now. So hold Command G and group that stuff together. So you can pick whatever phrase it is that you want to put on the front of your ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and just do my name. With my type tool, I just clicked once and then typed my name. I'm going to go and pick a good font because remember, we don't ever want to just stay on that default font. You want to pick something that you're going to like and will make sense. Let's see. I'll do that one. So you don't ever want to stretch type from here. It's going to stretch out the font funny. You always want to go from the corner and hold shift. So when I do that, I'm just trying to make it so my name takes up most of the ribbon. You can give it whatever color it is that you want. I'm going to use my eyedropper tool and pick up that purple so that my purple is sitting on front. And then I'm going to give it an outline color that's the same as, right here. So to do that, I've got to click and find that hex number. So if I copy my hex number and then go into that stroke color again and paste it, now I have that darker color as my stroke color. You don't have to do that. That's just something if you want to do it. So now I can group all of this together. So group my name with it. And put it so that I'm centered on my icon I made. You can make it so your ribbon is across your whole emblem that you have. You can make it so that way it's inside of it. It's up to you for whatever you're wanting to look. Now, a big thing with emblems and icons is that almost all the time the text is on some sort of an angle. It's never perfectly flat. So this font that I chose has a little bit of an italicized angle to it, but I want to give it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is get my shear tool. We used this when we created the cube back with 3D shading. But you want to get the shear tool in your toolbar. So it's right underneath your eraser. Click and hold and that fly out, and you'll get your shear tool. And then click and drag, and while I drag, you can drag it whichever way you want. I hold shift so that way I stay perfectly in line. So I'm going to drag mine up that way. And you can see how it just gave everything an angle, so it's all going along the same degree that way. And it just makes it look a little bit more interesting than just being flat like this. So once you get that going, we have two more things we're going to do. We're going to add one word that's arched above over here, and then one word that's arched below over here. And I'm going to show you two different ways to do that. So the first way we're going to do is we're going to use our circle tool again, and we're going to go find the center, and make a circle again, holding Shift and Alt. And I want to make sure I have enough of a gap between the white circle and this new circle I'm making, so that way a word could fit there. So I'm going to pull that out. And it doesn't have to be filled, it can be empty. Mine works easier for me if it's filled. And then you're gonna click and hold on your type tool in your toolbar, and that flyout's gonna pop out to get the type on a path tool. And you wanna click on the edge of your circle. And when you click, it's gonna add text all around your circle and make that color disappear. So you can add in whatever word. So if you did just your last name on your circle, on your ribbon, then you can put your first name. So that's what I just did here. So from there, with your black arrow, you can change the font again if you want to have a second font. So I'm going to make mine, pick something scripty, I guess. And then to change its size, you don't want to resize this way because you see how I resize the whole circle. To change its size, you want to change its size up here where it talks about the points. So you want it to be something that fits in your circle and doesn't cross too far. But it's up to you. That's just how my aesthetic is, how I want to make it look. So to turn it, you can turn it just like it's a regular shape and adjust it. And when I turn it, it's going to keep that circle where it is, but it's going to make sure that it follows exactly on the same path. So you can turn that shape wherever it is that you want it to go. Keep it at 24 points. So that's how you use your type on a path tool. Now to do the bottom one, we're going to put a warp on it. So I'm going to go back and get my regular type tool and click once, and maybe you can put your middle name, or if you did your last name here, first name and middle name, that could work, whatever it is that you want. So I'm going to have that name that I just typed once, and I have it selected with my black arrow. Make sure that you've changed its size and its type now, so that way you don't have to go back and fix it later, because it makes it more complicated to fix it later. So once you have it selected with your black arrow, click on Object in your top menu bar, and scroll down, and you're going to want to get to Envelope Distort. And from there, you're going to click on Make with Warp. And it's going to pop up with this menu for warp. So you can see it's already doing it now. If you don't see it doing it, make sure that preview box is checked. So in this warp options, you can change it to anything. So if you wanted one that was made it look like it was rising like a flag, you could do something like that. If you wanted one that had it squeeze in the middle, if you wanted it to look like it was just bigger overall, like a fish eye. So I'm going to keep mine on arc. And your bend here controls how sharp that bend is. And you can see it starts distorting the letters if it gets too extreme. So for us, we want it to bend along this bottom part of the circle. So we're going to pull it down and bend and make sure that bend is a negative number. Now all these things can be adjusted. You notice there's a vertical. You can distort it if you want it to be squeezed on one side versus the other. So all those things you can fix. We're not going to mess with that right now. We just want to use this bend here to try and make it be on that same angle as your circle down under here. Once you get it on the right amount, you're going to go ahead and click OK. And then go and place it where it needs to go. And again, you can rotate it just like you would rotate a normal shape or normal option. If you need to adjust the bend, you notice up here in your control bar that you can adjust all that stuff again. So I can click on bend here, and maybe I need it to be just slightly less bent. It's going to re-straighten itself each time, which is a little frustrating, but then you just got to kind of turn it back and see if you've got it on the right area now. So I'm going to go ahead and move mine up and over some.